Hi everyone, I am Vandana Sharma and today we are going to do Class 11 Snapshots, Chapter number 3, Ranga's Marriage by Masti Venkatesh Iyengar. Let's read something about the writer. Masti Venkatesh Iyengar was a well-known writer in Kannada language. He was the fourth among Kannada writers to be honored with the Gyanpith Award, the highest literary honor conferred in India. He was popularly referred to as Masti Kannada Asti, which means Masti, Kannada's treasure. He is most renowned for his short stories. He wrote under the pen name Srinivasa. He was honored with the title Raj Seva Sapta by then Maharaja of Mysore, Nalvari Krishnaraja Vedayar. Let me give you a brief introduction to the story. The story revolves around Ranga, that is Ranganathan, the accountant's son of the village who got the opportunity to go out of the village to study. Precisely, he went to Bangalore to complete his education. The narrator takes you through a journey where he changes Ranga's perception about marriage, how he staged his wedding with the help of a Shastri, and what role English has played in their village. The entire story involves funny instances and references, for the narrator has made sure your mind stays occupied with the story. They lived in a village called Hushahali in Mysore. Not many people know of it, and the narrator does not blame them because there is no trace of it in the geography books. As a result, there is no trace of their village on the map. But it is possible now. As you can see here, we have a map of the south state of Karnataka in India, where the village of Hoshahali is situated. Ranga, the accountant's son, is one of the rare breed among village folk who has been to the city to pursue his studies. When he returns to his village from the city of Bangalore, the crowds mill around his house to see whether he has changed or not. His ideas about marriage are now quite different. Or are they? The narrator then brings about a comparison as to how things were different 10 years ago when not many people knew or spoke English. Neither did people send their children to big cities like Bangalore to study. He justifies his claim by telling an incident where he was at Rama Rao's house, one of his friends, and they had just bought a bundle of firewood from an old lady. Rama told her to come next morning as he did not have any change at the moment. The poor old lady did not know what change meant, and she went away whispering to herself. Neither did the narrator know its meaning. It was only when he went to Ranga's house that he told him. Fascinated by all the crowd, the narrator too went to Ranga's house. All the people were waiting outside Ranga's house because the place would look like the black hole of Calcutta if they all went inside. The Black Hole of Calcutta was a dungeon in Fort William, Calcutta, measuring 14 by 18 feet, in which the troops of Sirajuddaula, the Nawab of Bengal, held British prisoners of war. After the fall of Fort William, the surviving British soldiers, Anglo-Indian soldiers, and Indian civilians were imprisoned overnight in conditions so cramped that many people died from suffocation and heat exhaustion, and that 123 of 146 prisoners of war imprisoned there died because they all went inside. Thus, Ranga came outside with a smile on his face. Everyone was so amazed to see that Ranga had not changed a bit after he left 6 months ago. An old lady even went to the extent of running her hands through his chest to check for a sacred thread. sacred thread, that is a genever that is worn by Brahmins across their chest. However, she went away after confirming that he had not forgotten about his caste. Ranga noticed the writer, and he replied with full respect in a traditional way. He greeted the narrator, he bent low and touched his feet, thereby seeking his blessings. It was not the present day namaskar where children would do it casually. It was a proper traditional one. The narrator blessed him that he might get married soon. The author thought it would be a good deed to have him married to a girl just as nice as him. The writer invited Ranga to his house, and when he arrived, they chatted for a while, and then the narrator asked Ranga about his views on getting married. Ranga expresses that he doesn't intend on marrying now because he intends on finding the right girl. He intends on staying a bachelor till he finds the right girl, and by the right girl he means that there should not be a huge age gap between the groom and the bride, as child marriage was a prevalent practice in those times. According to him, a man should marry a girl he admires. The writer was distressed that the boy who I thought would make a good husband had decided to remain a bachelor. The writer made up his mind right then that he would get him married. Ramarao's niece was a perfect match for Ranga, according to the writer. She was a pretty girl of 11, and she had come to stay with the Ramarao's relatives. She was from a big town, so she knew how to play the veena and the harmonium. She also had a sweet voice. Both her parents had died, and her uncle Ramarao had brought her home. Ranga was just the boy for her, and she the most suitable bride for him. Ratna was quite familiar with the narrator as he visited Rama's place frequently. The narrator thought of a plan to introduce Ratna to Ranga. He asked Rama to send Ratna to his place as he wanted to send some buttermilk for them. Ratna came all dressed up. The narrator insisted upon her to sing a song while he sent someone to call Ranga. Just as she was singing, Ranga arrived at the door. Her melancholic voice touched his ears, and thus he did not want to interrupt the singing, so he stood at the door. He was curious to see the singer, and very cautiously he tried to have a look which disturbed the lightning in the room. On seeing a stranger, Ratna immediately stopped her singing. Ratna was shy, and thus looked downward, whereas Ranga stealthily glanced at her. There was an awkward silence in the room. After things went a bit awkward, Ranga said that he feels it was his coming that stopped the singing, so he must leave. However, he did not. He did not want to. After a few minutes of awkward silence, Ranga finally asked the narrator about the girl. Thus, he says that who she is not of that much importance, because he is already married and Ranga doesn't intend on marrying anytime soon. He asks if she isn't married, yet to which the narrator replies that she is, probably a year ago. Ranga wants to know if Ratna was married or not, to which he received the reply from the narrator that she has been married a year ago. Our narrator, having staged certain liking in the mind of Ranga for Ratna, went on to complete his play. He went to the village Shastri, the astrologer, and told him everything that had to be said and done. Then he met Ranga that afternoon, and he carried the same disappointment on his face. He suggested that they should go and see the village astrologer to see if the stars, that is Guru or Shani in his so Kundali, are in their favor or not. Ranga went with him. The narrator asks the Shastri to take out all his tools to help solve whatever is going on in Ranga's mind with full authority. Shastri moved his lips while counting quickly and asked Ranga about his star, his zodiac sign, which Ranga did not know. Shastri implied that it's manageable. He appeared to be doing certain calculations. After a moment, he indicated that Ranga has a girl on his mind. Shastri thought and replied that the girl is likely to have a name of something found in the ocean. Their guesses include Kamal, Pachi, Moss, Pearl, and then suddenly Shastri said Ratna. All of it came together now to a girl named Ratna. Ratna, who is the niece of Ramarao. That's it. Ranga was thinking about her only. Ranga was both surprised and happy because Shastri's predictions were right. He immediately became disappointed when he recalled that she was married. When the narrator comes back, he announces that fortunately Ratna is not married and someone might have wrongly conveyed it to him about that. The narrator expresses his amazement at the fact that he has been thinking about Ratna and asks him to swear upon the truth. To his surprise, Ranga told him the truth that whatever Shastri said is true. His belief in all the Shastris had strengthened. That means Ranga was really thinking about Ratna. Now the narrator takes us a few years forward, where Ranga and Ratna are happily married. They had a 3-year-old son, and Ratna was 8 months pregnant. Ranga's sister had come over to help them. It was Shama's birthday. Yes, the couple named their son after the narrator, as it is a common foreign tradition to name your child after someone you truly admire. When the narrator went there for dinner, Shama came running to him, only to show his love by holding his leg. The narrator kissed him and gave him a ring. So the story teaches us how some traditions or perceptions do not change even after being educated. Ranga's perception of marriage changed when he had a look at Ratna. The narrator staged their marriage through a plan and he executed it successfully. Though Ranga had a different perception of marriage in the beginning of the chapter, but by the end he stuck to the old customs, old traditions and beliefs, where he married a girl who was merely 11 years old and he was much elder to her in age. Hope you liked the story and the summary. Thank you, everyone.